by the power of Ra. Greetings. Deep within this great pyramid are dark and splendid rooms called tombs. These tombs are where notable, rich, and royal Egyptians get buried, like the pharaohs, for example. The process of burial was a huge part of Egyptian culture. You see, the Egyptians believed that there was life after death that took place in a beautiful heavenly place that was ruled by a god called Osiris. The Egyptians called this place the Field of Reeds. However, to get there, they would have to survive a perilous journey in the underworld, and then have their heart weighed against a feather to see if they had lived a good life. Before the dead person even started this journey to the Field of Reeds, however, they had to be buried in a very specific way. The first thing they had to do was preserve the actual body of the dead person so it could survive in the afterlife. So, in order to do this, the Egyptians developed an amazing way in which a body did not rot or decay. They wrapped the body in linen bandages and a special salt and wax, which, according to the Egyptians, made the body last forever. These bodies were called mummies, and the people who wrapped them were known as embalmers. So when an important person died, the body was taken to the embalmers for 70 days to be mummified. When the Egyptians had finished making the mummy, they then placed a death mask on it. A death mask was used so that the person could be recognized in the afterlife. In fact, some masks showed a highly realistic portrait of the dead person. Then they placed the mummy in something known as an inner coffin. This inner coffin was usually made from gold and decorated with gods of the underworld and colorful hieroglyphics of spells. Sometimes the mummy was then placed in another coffin, called an outer coffin, that gave it even more protection. Next, a book known as the Book of the Dead was placed inside the coffin. This book contained lots of different spells which would help protect them on their dangerous journey through the underworld. Now, the body is ready to be taken to the tomb. It was a custom for a solemn funeral procession to take place from the dead person's home to the tomb, where the coffin was carried by men, sometimes oxen, on a boat-like shape that was made out of wood. Furthermore, priests would walk ahead saying prayers and burning sweet-smelling incense, whilst servants followed at the back, carrying various goods and treasures that would be placed in the tomb. Often, mourners were hired to cry in distress to show how much the dead person was missed. The coffin was carried to the tomb, where it was finally laid to rest in a large stone box called a sarcophagus. These large boxes were usually left undecorated. As you can imagine, Many rich Egyptians, especially pharaohs, were buried with enormous amounts of treasure. This is because they believed they would take all their riches into the next world. So, with this, tombs had to be extremely well guarded.